Welcome to the Reader's Digest. Oh, great. Teachers are put to the test. This is a pretty hard topic to actually talk about because apparently things are not being that bright anymore. Facing low pay, school shootings, and very angry parents, educators are actually ready to leave the profession, and students are paying the price where teachers are put to the test. This is of national interest. Now, apparently Rosemary Kurtz didn't actually want to become teaching for pay or prestige or because she just wanted a drama-free life. Kurtz, an energetic 30-year-old high school teacher in Dallas, Texas, actually just wanted to share the spread of math. Her life is actually full of purpose, and she actually felt privileged, and she remembers why she actually wanted to become a teacher. But lately, those moments have become getting harder to hold on to because of issues that have made teaching pretty harder. A big one is staffing shortages. Last fall, on the first day of school, 45 students actually filled into Kurt's algebra class, which is 50 more than the usual class. And there were so many students that some had to sit on tables or hold their papers against the wall to write out their math problems. There weren't enough desks in the room for all her kids, and even if there were desks, they couldn't have been able to fit all of them in. Now, teaching was always a tough job. It's a lot of work, and too many school districts, the pay stinks. Teachers also need to be proficient in far more than just the subject they've been hired to teach. They need to be comfortable talking to students and colleagues, and also adept at negotiating the literal bureaucracy. It's only gotten tougher in recent years as teachers have had to grapple with new fears about school shootings and an increasingly polarized political environment that has placed educators on the front line of the culture wars. And of course, COVID-19 only compounded these literal problems. As a result, only about 300,000 of the nation's roughly 3.1 million teachers left the field in February 2020 and May 2022. 55% of remaining educators said they were actually considering leaving the profession earlier than they had planned, according to a survey by the National Education Association. And then Florida Florida schools are hiring unlicensed veterans to actually fill in all the gaps. In Utah, about 50% of teachers have not completed as a teacher preparation program, and many are operating under an emergency credential, which means they passed a background check and have demonstrated minimal competencies and are willing to do the job. And this is said by Melia Haight, an executive coordinator of educator licensing at the Utah State Board of Education. That means we have teachers in the classrooms teaching kids who don't have all the skills to do the job. This is not a new situation, she adds, but it's gotten very worse. At least there are humans leading those classes. In the rural Mississippi town of Roseau, geometry students learn from recording because the high school's lone math teacher is forced to teach multiple classes at once. At W.H. Adamson, the 1,500-student high school where Kurtz teaches, the administration began sending out a daily list of all staff vacancies and absences, along with the list of names, spelling out who is responsible that day for covering them. Kurtz, who actually relies on teaching assistants to help her English as a second language, ESL, and special needs students, says the names of her assistants are on the coverage list most days, and forcing her to decide between letting her special needs and ESL pupils fall behind or slowing down the classes for the remaining 30 students. Lately, the situation has gotten so dire that schools had actually had to resort to splitting up sick teachers' classes and distributing them to colleagues. You don't want to be absent because you don't have the burden on everyone else, and Kurtz says, who had COVID-19 last year and rushed back to work as soon as she could. If you normally have a class of 30 kids and then suddenly you got 50 more kids than someone else, you had a giant crowded classroom. The kids are noisy and there's confusion. So when the classes are split like that, not only is the learning affected, but also now the teachers whose classes they sent into are affected. So where do all these teachers actually go? Experts say the origins of teaching staffing crisis are no mystery. Most teaching schools simply aren't graduating as many new teachers as they used to. In Ohio, the number of students completing teacher education programs has fallen by half over the past decade. In Pennsylvania, the number of new teachers graduated by state schools has actually plummeted by 2/3, from now 20,000 new teachers a year in 2010 to fewer than 7,000 in 2021. Nationally, 20% to 30% fewer people are actually going into teaching each year than there were a decade ago. According to the journal Education Next, many economists and educational experts say that poor pay is also a big part of the problem. And of course, there's also teacher shootings. On job to nowhere, pay isn't the only issue that motivates teachers to look elsewhere. Career advancement, or lack thereof, is another factor. Matthew Kraft, an associate professor of education and economics at Brown University, says that for many teachers, there's nowhere to go but sideways. In fact, that's pretty much it. In 2020 alone, there were 51 school shootings too, and that's also one of the big reasons to go here. Also, there's also a course correction. The most obvious solution to get teacher exodus is better salaries, and the American public is literally on board, with one 2022 survey from Education Next showing that 70% of Americans support a raise in teachers. Yeah. And now they're also teaching teachers how to shoot, which is pretty good. Next up, lazy at its finest. Now, you have to pull the right strings. The kitchen is on the second floor of a deck outside, so the husband actually puts the trash bins beneath the deck with string tied to the lid. All what they have to do is go outside, pull the string so the lid's open, drops the bag, and not miss. Next one, DIY DRY. So apparently this offers this person, she lives in the Colorado mountains where they really rarely experience humidity. Therefore, she does not and will not dry the dishes. Why did they need a job the air will do for her if it'll just happen in a few minutes? That's actually pretty smart. Next up, working smarter, not harder. So apparently the offer of this one actually had a coworker who was delighted in finding unpleasant tasks for her. And such as sealing a stack of envelopes, for which she used a wet paper towel instead of her tongue. And once she handed her a long adding machine tape, asking me to find how many items there were to add it together. And instead of counting each item, she used a ruler to figure out items per inch and to measure out the full length of the tape. And then the supervisor commended me for handling an unpleasant situation very well. Now 1% inspiration, 99% condensation. Now walking to the other side of the house to fill the watering can is just too much trouble, and the air conditioner vent near the door. It's a two-part solution. Like, the can catches the drip and the vent fills the can throughout the day, so it's full with the water in the morning. And then hacking the humans. As a computer analyst, the person who wrote this learned that they couldn't call people back right away against the catastrophic computer issues. They often resolved it themselves, and when left to their own devices, people often get better at fixing them. What? This is weird. And that's all the stories I pretty much have for now. Next up, the upside of anxiety. But we're out of time, so I guess I'll see you guys in the next episode. So wait for part 4, everyone. Bye-bye. And always wear a helmet.